to Pitchin in the Kitchen series on healthy living, where today we're going to be focusing on the positive and healthy effects of cinnamon. And we are so fortunate today to have with us as our guest Rachael J. with the Grateful Pantry. And Pitchin in the Kitchen, as you well know, is a site where we want to bring you all healthy ideas to help you with your life and your home, and so that you can enjoy your everyday living, which we know is very important. Again, we're very happy to have Rachael J. here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Rachael, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to this career that you are now in?
Sure. You know, I never meant to live healthy. I was perfectly fine going through the drive-thrus, being 60 pounds overweight, dealing with bouts of depression, and really just not being engaged with the life that I wanted. But as life would happen, it came to a crossroads where I really needed to change something dramatically about my life, and I didn't know how to do it except in small, incremental ways. And the only way that I could do that is basically through the kitchen, through changing my relationship with food. And that's what I discovered, and that's why I love bringing creative ways to make healthy food fun for living now.
Well, that sounds like it's right up Pitchin in the Kitchen's alley. That sounds fantastic. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the Grateful Pantry, what that's all about, what you're doing with that?
Yeah, the Grateful Pantry is definitely my love child. The seed for it came about in 2008, during that year when everything came crashing down on me and I literally needed to change the relationship I was in, the career I was in, my weight, my mental health, and I began cooking in the kitchen to build that confidence. And surely what happened after that is I started finding these really small cracks of confidence to change my life, and that's why during a meditation years later on my journey in doing that, the Grateful Pantry came to mind, and it became these cooking classes. I teach adult cooking classes, kids cooking classes, and I also do meal planning one-on-one with community members, and just really getting them excited about this part of our lives that we touch at least 3 times a day. Some of us more than others, okay? That's what I love.
Well, you know what? I think that's really interesting because one of the things that Pitchin in the Kitchen wants to do for our viewers is to encourage them to make any changes in their lives that would be helpful to help them lead a more healthy, happier life. So you're an inspiration for our viewers, Rachael. Thank you very much for that. Now, today we're going to be focusing on a special recipe that you have. So could you just briefly tell us about what you're going to be preparing for us today?
Well, we are going to be making cinnamon blueberry muffins. But the reason I'm so excited about these muffins is because I used to be a non-breakfast person. I used to be the person that would run out the door without breakfast and say, I don't have time, I'm too busy. And when I found that I needed the nourishment at the beginning of my day to make me successful and to create a life of inspiration, that's when I started coming up with these really creative ways to get vegan, gluten-free, and sugar-free breakfasts into my diet in a really quick, you can take them to go. They're amazing.
Well, they really, and believe me, I know they're amazing. I've had the good fortune of tasting these. But now we need to have you show us how you're going to put these together and make them. And my wonderful partner, Betty, and you are going to be in the kitchen showing us that just now.
Let's do it.
So Rachael J., tell us what you're going to do today.
Betty, I say we create the most delicious cinnamon vegan blueberry muffins. What do you think?
I love it. And I heard, according to the Vitality Foods, that cinnamon helps with digestion, so that'll be great.
Cinnamon has all kinds of health properties, and it's so quick and easy to literally put it in your breakfast to dash and go. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay. I just want to make one note about this, what I like to call a cooking concept. Okay, I like to call everything I create a concept because my philosophy is that recipes teach you how to make really great dishes, but cooking concepts actually teach you how to cook for life. and that's what we're doing here. And I start the batter for all my muffins the same way, using different ingredients based on what I have at home, and I also make 2 other breakfast items out of it. Isn't that cool?
I like easy. It sounds easy.
Okay, let's get started. In here, you might think that this was what? Flour,
Looks like flour.
all-purpose flour. It's actually ground up gluten-free oatmeal. And the reason I like to use it, 1, keep it gluten-free, and B, don't we all have oatmeal in our house?
I
Almost
do.
all the time.
I do.
So why not use an ingredient we have on hand all the time?
Now, what else could you use if somebody didn't like oatmeal or didn't have oatmeal?
Well, you can actually use any flour that you prefer. So if you want to use all-purpose flour, that's your thing, go ahead. Almond meal, that's really good. Coconut flour, you want to be a little bit careful because coconut flour has a tendency to leave it a little bit dry. So just be, just know that when you're using ingredients, but it's okay if you make mistakes too.
Okay.
So very good. So half a cup, and this is literally what I do in the morning. Imagine me, if you will, rushing around the house with a towel on my head, frantically, getting ready for the morning, and this is what I do. Now, after we have a dry ingredient, what comes to mind? What do you think needs to go in after a dry ingredient?
I would think some kind of either moisture or those.
Ding,
Am I
ding,
good? Am I
ding.
good? Yay.
You're like a Grateful Pantry graduate already.
I wasn't even coached on that.
Well, because these are vegan, I'm actually using a banana to bring in that biting agent, that
Okay.
moisture
Okay.
into it. And I used to start off mashing my banana in a separate bowl,
Mhm.
but guess what I don't like to do in the kitchen?
Make a mess.
Do dishes. Okay, we don't like to do dishes. So instead of dirtying a dish, we're just going to go straight into the bowl. But since this is a one version, it's 1 portion just for me, I'm going to put a half.
Okay.
Okay, if you're going to double it and share it, then you're going to put a whole banana in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what else other than bananas could you put in if somebody wanted either a multitude of options or had other preferences?
So all it needs to, the banana's job in this is to bind everything together. So it only needs to be something like wet or moist. I also use applesauce. That's what I have in the house.
Okay.
Okay, and what about the holidays are coming up? And we could use pumpkin puree to also mix in that bowl. And now we have the star of the show.
So good.
Yes. And usually it's quicker, because I'm just furiously kind of mixing it in the morning on my way to go. What do you usually eat for breakfast?
A lot of times oatmeal, a lot of times just a healthy green drink.
Yeah, green smoothie. Oh, good for you. You get stars.
Thank you.
Now we are putting in the star of the show, organic cinnamon, and we're putting in about 1 to 2 teaspoons. So this is how I measure 1 to 2 teaspoons, but you can use whatever you want. 1, 2.
That's my style. I like it. I like it. Now, I understand, as we mentioned earlier, that cinnamon helps with digestion, but I also know, I think the book was Superfoods or Super Secret Food Cures, that it helps with bedwetting. So if you have a challenge, this might be a great breakfast option for them.
Well, Betty, I didn't know that. I'm just wondering if you actually have to consume it, or do you just sprinkle it?
You could do either. I think probably consuming it might work a little better.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I hope I never have to find out, to be
Oh,
honest.
not either.
But this is why we love food as medicine, right?
It is.
Because it helps with all kinds of things. I am putting in baking powder to help it rise,
Okay.
because when we normally add eggs to baking goods, it also helps it rise.
Okay.
So we're going to use baking powder to help it rise.
Instead of eggs.
Instead of eggs, the mashed banana actually also combined with the baking powder will help substitute
Okay.
eggs.
Super.
I added about 1 teaspoon. Did you see my?
I saw a very precise measurement.
Okay.
Exactly my style.
This is a secret ingredient I like to put in it. I always keep. Do you have any nuts around the house?
Almonds I eat a lot.
Okay, everybody always has almonds or nuts or walnuts around the house. Well, I love to simply put them in my NutriBullet and use almond meal and put 2 tablespoons of that into my muffins.
Okay.
And do you want to know why?
I would love to know why. Please tell me.
How my quirky brain works in the kitchen? One, we're measuring first.
Yes.
2 tablespoons of almonds. What do any nuts do when you apply heat to them?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask you to educate me, please.
Well, do you smell them?
I do, yes,
Right.
aroma.
So the aroma comes out, the flavor comes out whenever you put heat in a nut.
Sometimes I feel like a nut. Sometimes
I knew you were going to run with that one. So by putting almonds in it, what we're doing is bringing in enhanced flavors whenever we put it through a baking process.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I know almonds have a lot of health benefits to them as well.
Yeah. And so now we're looking a little dry in our bowl. So what do you think we need?
I think we need some moisture.
Yeah. So I have got some almond milk.
Okay.
I love almond milk.
I do too.
Yeah. I love the flavor. I love the consistency. We're putting in about 1/4 of a cup. We're going to start with 1/4 of a cup.
And so what does that look like if people at home do the same thing you and I do in our kitchen,
Mhm.
where you're not measuring it?
Mhm.
So there's just a little bit of liquid, so it's not necessarily going to cover all the powder, but just how would somebody eyeball it?
So what I want you to ask yourself, because the most important thing you can ever give yourself in the kitchen is the questions you ask while you're baking. You're preparing your meals. So I want you to ask the question, in what way do I want this batter to look like? What consistency? And we know that we want it a muffin consistency, right? So if you've ever seen a batter, then you know, and you can be asking yourself, what consistency do I think it needs to look like? And that'll help you. And if you're not comfortable with doing that from the get-go, go back to a recipe and just keep building your intuition using recipes until you can get to a point of intuitive cooking.
I was just going to say that.
That's because I'm intuitive.
Yes you are. It looks delightful. Looks delicious.
One thing I noticed that we are missing, if the flavors of just the banana isn't sweet enough, because what do we know about baked goods? They're generally pretty sweet, right? If the banana's just not cutting it, one ingredient that I always bring in to help sweeten things is actually a smoothie protein powder.
Okay. And I see it's a vegan.
Yep, Vega is my favorite brand. And not only are you bringing in vanilla flavor, you're also bringing in stuff like alfalfa sprouts, spinach. And so, how hard is it to get greens into our kids these days?
It's funny because that's my health kit has been this year, and I've learned a lot about green foods and the benefits and the alfalfa sprouts and all that you're mentioning, and that's what I'm adding to my breakfast and throughout my day a lot. And I'm feeling so much different. So I'd love to know, I didn't know about this particular protein. Yeah, I love that.
So if you use whatever protein powder you have, and if you don't have one, it's okay. You can make it without it. Or you can even open yourself up to going and reading the labels and seeing which one resonates with you, right? We're reading our bodies.
And I was going to say, one of the things that I really love about you, Rachel J, is that you have such an adventure in the kitchen, and it's intuitive cooking, like you said, and it's just following your gut, your inspiration. And you said listening to our bodies, and I actually wrote a book on how we listen to our bodies. So
Perfect.
yeah, very nice.
And that's one of the reasons, the gift that cooking has given me is that, and what I was talking about earlier in my story about the Grateful Pantry, it's given me the gift of trusting my intuition. And the more you practice it with meals that you eat, the more it comes naturally to you in your life.
And I really liked his, when we talked on the phone earlier this week, what you said when you went through that very tough year. Some people, yeah, we've all been through those horrible years, I think. Many
I'm
of us
putting dried blueberries in. Sorry.
No, that's good, because I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned, instead of doing the self-help books or Tony Robbins, listening to inspiration, you picked up a spatula. And I love that.
It was actually, I feel like it was given to me. At the moment where I needed it most, I didn't even have a self-help book available. But it was like I had a kitchen and I had to interact with meals every day. And that was just the gift that was given to me. So I just like to pass it on and pass it forward and know how easy and accessible, just trusting your intuition can be.
Excellent. And the blueberries I know can help reduce belly fat. And they also, they can help with a lot of other things. Oh, you're right, 60 pounds. And she lost that weight traveling and being busy. So I'm just so inspired.
Yeah.
So let's look at what our final product is.
Okay, would you mind grabbing the muffin tin because we are ready. I know we did a lot of snacking chatting, but usually this is quicker, you know, when I'm out running out the door. I use coconut spray for the healthful benefits of coconut oil. So we're just gonna spray our. Am I getting you?
Not yet. I'm rubbing you. Although coconut oil is good for the skin, so
No, let's just use it. I actually do use coconut oil on my face, so we're good. And this batter, the other reason I like to cook vegan is because when the fork, you know, when I pull the fork out, it has no eggs in it, so guess what I can do?
Oh, yes. That is good. I used to do cooking classes with kids, and when we would use something with an egg, they couldn't lift the spatula, and they hated me for not letting them lift that spatula.
No,
that's very
Look
good.
at Workson.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, do you want to grab that spoon and taste the batter? Sure. Just taste this. All using ingredients we all normally have.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, good. You can taste the almonds, I taste the nut. That's really good. Really good.
So I'm going to put these in a muffin tin. They're going to bake for 375 degrees, anywhere from 11 to 15 minutes, depending on how long it takes you to do your hair, your makeup, get everything ready, out the door. But wait, the final trick, it makes about 6 mini muffins for one person. So the final trick that we're going to do is add a little bit more of that almond meal right on top.
Now, you mentioned that you can use this batter for other things as well.
Yes. So that's one of the powerful things about it. If you want to make it a cookie, you keep the batter thicker than what I showed you. So you just pull back on the milk, right? And you can either plop a spoonful into a pan and toast it on both sides. Maybe add some coconut, roll coconut in there, make cookies out of it, make muffins, or if it's like a Sunday brunch and you want to get a little fancy pants, why not make pancakes and serve everybody vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free pancakes.
So fancy pancakes instead of fancy
Yeah, I like that. And you know what though? I do have a suggestion. Please don't tell them that it's vegan, gluten-free, or sugar-free to your family members because they always are skeptical. Or if you just serve it, they say how delicious it is, then you tell them. And then you pop in the question about how healthful they are for you. I just want to show you what I would do real quick for the muffins when I'm running out the door. Grab your to-go container. I use a baggie. You grab 6 of them because that's what a serving is. You throw them in the baggie. You run out the door. You're in the car or you're at work or wherever you are, eating your little muffins down the street. Everybody thinks that you're eating, you know, Starbucks pastries but you are actually a healthy
Can I try
treat. Please. The cinnamon is just infusing this entire
I taste
muffin.
the cinnamon, it's moist. It's like an explosion in my mouth. It's really good. Thank you so much for sharing.
And don't forget, we're getting some protein when we throw in protein smoothie. So these can also be protein cookies. So I'm telling you, this is where it's at. You know? These are great.
In my exercise class, I keep stressing that after you exercise, you need to make sure you get protein into your body pretty quickly. So this is a perfect thing that I'm going to add to my breakfast as we go forward. So I want to thank you so much as Rachael J. from the Grateful Pantry. And I love how she answers whenever I ask her how she's doing. She's always grateful. And I love that. So thank you guys so much for visiting our show at Pitchin in the Kitchen. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
I'll see you guys on the grateful side. Okay, I've just been dying to do this since I got here. So I really enjoy karaoke, which I call it, cookeroke.
Ooh, fun.
And, these sinks are just so ideal. Let's see.
No.
Now, everybody thinks that this is a kitchen sink faucet. However, what you don't know is about kookeroke. And what was a sink is now a stage. I'm so excited that I just can't hide it. No, 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 no. We're about to cook vegan blueberry muffins and we think we like it. The trick is you gotta keep your focus on something. See? You can eat. You can grab something to eat.
What, can you cook while you're spinning? We'll give you a bowl.
Let's find out.
This is a whole nother concept of the spinning class.
I love it.
Cooking with Rachel J.
Hey, can we do calisthenics and cooking? I like that.